the Locklicious all-natural hair care product line? Well, let's hear what the Lock community has to say about it.
I love how it sprays and how it feels, you guys. Like, it feels so good. And it smells amazing, you guys.
The Lock and Twist moisturizer was really good for me. The hydration mist was phenomenal.
This is the bomb, baby. I was really impressed, kind of blown away, and I think that if you're struggling, definitely go check them out.
And check out the 5-star reviews on our website. So, what are you waiting for? Go to locklicious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
All right. Shalom. Shout out to everybody in the building. I see our moderators already here. Shout out to King Rock. Salute to you, my brother. Shout out to you. Shout out to Uriah. Victorious, what up? Son, what up? Shout out to Rise of the Israelites. Shout out to Door of El. He said, boy, oh boy, somebody got lit up earlier. Pseudo-linguistics. Boy, oh boy, somebody got lit up earlier. Pseudo-linguistics. Shout out to Asar Pseudotep. And shout out to the good brother Neb who came through and lit Asar Otep up with some inside information. Ain't nothing like the people who spar with you the most to tell you who you really are, right? Ain't nothing like the people who spar with you the most to tell us who you really are, right? So, for those of you who may not have seen our lecture or my lecture earlier, I just want to let you know that the reason why we're even doing a part 2 to this lecture is because we was joined spontaneously by a brother by the name of Neb, right, who is from the Kemetic paradigm, as it were. He is a linguist in the Middle Netra. In many ways, he could be considered a grammarian in the Middle Netra because he thoroughly understands the language. I think that his knowledge of Middle Netra is definitely good for dialogue. I think that he has proven himself in that community to represent their history, their culture, and their language. And a lot of people in that community don't like him because he's not a part of their Boule crews. A lot of people in that community don't like him because he's not a part of their sororities. He's not a part, of, I pledge, that gang. So they hate on him because he's a quote unquote street brother, they say. That's what they'll tell y'all. He's from the street, right? Shout out to our brother. His accent sounds like he's from B-More. Whether or not he's from the street don't mean nothing to me. I'm from the street. You from the street. God damn it, we all from the street. Shut y'all asses up. Y'all dudes go and join these Greek fraternities, become part of Boule, and start looking down on y'all people. Till we look back up and smack the shit out of you and pull your ass back down to size. Calm down before you get adjusted. So, Asar Imhotep is an interesting guy. I already have my presentation ready. I want to pretty much pick up from where I left off. I'm just going to probably bring it back one slide or two. I'm probably going to bring it back just one slide or two. But this is a very, very interesting guy. I would like for everybody to thumb up the video and share it live. Also, family, don't be afraid to hit that like button. Oh, damn, Uriah. I hit you by accident, brother. I gave you back your wrench. I hit you by accident. My apologies, Uriah. My apologies. All right. So let me do this really quick. Let me share my screen. Let me go right to it and let me share my screen. I want you guys to really, know that the scholarship that I bring to the table is different. And that's why a lot of people in that community, in the conscious community, they get very emotional at the idea of me. At the very idea of me, they get very emotional. What do we mean? If I go on a conscious community platform and I debate one of the stars or all stars or whoever they have in front of me, just look in the comment section. Extra sassy. Just look in the comment section. Extra fresh, extra emotional. For what? How could all these people have so much hate for one guy? Come on. If you've ever been to a Floyd Mayweather fight, you know why. All these people got so much hate for one guy. Why? Well, if you've ever been to a Floyd Mayweather fight, you know why. Floyd Mayweather, shout out to him, is surely a blockbuster ticket. Everybody wants to go see a Floyd Mayweather fight. But not because they want to see Floyd Mayweather win. They want to see him down. They want to see him fall. Nobody likes his cocky attitude. Nobody likes that he stands up and doesn't kiss ass. And guess what? For those same reasons, people don't like me. And guess what? Just like Floyd Mayweather, I'm going to keep going in and I'm going to keep being me. In fact, if I realize that that's your Achilles heels and that bothers you about me, I'm going to be extra when it comes to that. So I have a presentation to present to you guys today that will basically show, prove, and demonstrate that Asar Imhotep is becoming a very sloppy scholar, right? I always tell people, you guys hear me say it often, I'm going to say it again. Scholars are usually most powerful when they remain and stay in their lanes. I'm going to say that again. Scholars are usually at their best or most powerful when they stay and remain in their lanes. When they refrain from lane switching, they just focus and stay in their lane, right? Everybody wants to be a jack of all trades. I do everything. When it comes to knowledge, I don't do everything. I do a lot. I definitely do a lot. But I don't do everything. You guys don't see me talking about DNA. That's not my specialty. You guys don't see me going in on health, even though my dad gave me extensive knowledge when it comes to health. My dad cured himself of a disease, right? My dad had sarcoidosis and cured himself of it, and has cured several people that we know of several ailments. I could go into that lane. I would like to go into that lane at one point, somewhere down the line. But as of right now, what y'all see me doing, that's my lane. And at times I might step outside because it interacts with what I'm doing. But for the most part, this is my lane. And that's why I'm such a problem. Because for the most part, I remain in my lane. But there's this thing called ambition, which is healthy. But then there's its next of kin, which is called pride. And the misuse of that is very unhealthy. So you have a lot of people that are filled with good ambition, great intentions, and then an unhealthy balance of pride. Far too many people are not content with having some. Far too many people are not even content with having most. Far too many people want it all. And they're willing to risk it all in order to get it all. And then when they start to behave like that, you start to see sloppy errors or sloppy scholarship. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go right into it. I'm going to pick up where I left off. All right. So as you guys know, Asar Imhotep put out such a ignorant, scholastically unfounded idea and premise that the god Yahweh, and let me just, the god Yahweh is of Egyptian origin, he says. He holds up dictionaries. He has like recreated imagery and glyphs and tells you, look, linguistically, they look the same, so they're the same. That's called lookership. That's not called scholarship. That's called lookership. I'm going to open up with some video, right? I'm going to open up with some video, but just before I do that, I'm going to go a little bit into this presentation to just continue where I left off. I talked about primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources. Primary sources is first-hand observation, contemporary account of events, viewpoints at the time of said event, the people speaking from their own vantage point, right? A primary text would be the Hebrew Bible, where the Hebrews themselves are telling you their story. A secondary source to that would be people like Asar Imhotep, well, not Asar, but people like the sources Asar Imhotep uses that comment on the Bible. And then lastly, the bottom of the barrel are the people like Asar Imhotep, who represent tertiary sources. They're looking at the commentary of the commentary of the commentary of the commentary. In other words, they're far removed from looking at, researching, and assessing primary information. They're not looking at the primary record. If you're going to critique the Bible, you have to use its own primary account credibly. You cannot look at what contemporary authors have to say about a people who wrote and spoke for themselves. I'm going to say it again for the people in the cheap seats. You cannot look at contemporary authors exclusively without thoroughly looking equally at, if not more, at a people who wrote for themselves and spoke for themselves. You know, the Hebrew Bible, the Hebrew Tanakh. They wrote for themselves and they spoke for themselves. So the primary source text that everyone should be using when you're speaking about the Bible is the Hebrew Bible. And if you wish to critique it, you must include looking at it invasively. And I'm not talking about looking at a King James translation. I'm not talking about looking at English. Because if you're going to critique what the Hebrews say, you should be able to read it in the language they spoke it in. So you're not even credible as an authority to critique the Hebrew Bible if you don't even read Hebrew. Because for all you know, you're critiquing a mistranslation. If you don't read the language, you're not even fit to critique. Sit your ass on the sideline. You a six man. Stop acting like you part of the starting five. Watch this. One thing that often occurs in the unconscious conscious community, one thing that often occurs in the unconscious conscious community is people, speaking of, sources, source up. Everybody in the conscious community, source up, source up. I got my sources. As you guys heard me mention earlier, thumb up the video and share it live, guys. As you guys heard me mention earlier, having a source citation that agrees with something that you said is not sufficient to demonstrate the truth of what you're saying. I'm going to say that again for the people in the cheap seats. You heard me say earlier that quoting and providing a source citation, a citational source, a source that you can cite that agrees with the position that you hold and the view that you contend for or against does not in and of itself validate your view as truth. Because any real scholar knows that sources themselves can, should, and must be vetted. For example, I said, if you take something that is common knowledge, the sky is blue, and you want to argue and debate that that is not true, you want to say it's purple, and you go on the internet and you scour and scavenge all throughout Wikipedia, and that's what they do, scour and scavenge all throughout Google, PDF Google, and that's what they do, and you find a source that agrees with you, and then you're good at making PowerPoints, or like Brother Garfield, or like the other conscious community kittens, You get somebody to put together the PowerPoint for you because you know you're smart, but you just don't know how to make PowerPoints. Whatever the hell y'all saying today, right? I'm smart, I just don't know how to make PowerPoints. Okay. All right. So because you can have somebody prepare a PowerPoint presentation for you, and you have a citation that agrees with you that the sky is purple, that's somehow supposed to mean that we should believe the sky is purple, huh? No, it's not how it works, buddy. Because the sky is not purple, it is blue. And the fact that you can find someone that agrees with you somewhere on the internet, all that means is you found and located someone as equally dumb as you. That's all that says. So in the conscious community, there's this source up, and that's what you're supposed to do. But I just want to let everybody know that your sources can, will, and must be vetted as well. So watch this. We talk about sourcing up. When you source up, the main ingredient for sourcing up is vetting the author. Run the author's name through Google since you're using Google. Do they have other stories that they've written? Can you find the writer's biography somewhere? Can you find a LinkedIn or a Twitter profile? Real people are accountable for what they write. In other words, if your source is a verifiable, bona fide, authentic source, then they should be real people that we can go and actually look at. That's where the vetting process begins. Know your source. What sources does the author use in their story? The source that you're quoting from, what are their sources? Do they name the people they quote? No, Garfield doesn't. Garfield wrote a whole book and does not give attribution, doesn't put things in quotations so that you might think that he wrote it. Sloppy scholarship. Or does their story rely heavily or only on unnamed sources? Do the documents they cite support the story? And can you find them directly? Don't settle without verifying all of the above. Right? All of the above. I want to read a quote really quick. Self-explanatory. Pretty dope. And here's the quote. The quote says, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it." Albert Einstein. I'm going to say that again. Don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. And this is attributed to Albert Einstein, even though this is not even the quote of Albert Einstein. The proof is in the pudding in this demonstration right now in real time. I'll say that again. Don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. And the attribution says that this is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein never said anything like this. But on the internet, you can find pictures and quotations adjacent to people who are considered great minds, and it may either be misrepresenting what they said, or it may entirely not even be anything they've ever said. So again, providing a citation that agrees with any premise, point, or view that you wish to share is not in and of itself validating or authenticating whatever it is that you're trying to establish as true in the public eye. Because what scholars will do, beyond looking at your quote, is go to the source text of who you're quoting and what they're saying and vet their argument. That's what we do. That's core scholarship. And with that being said, let's begin here. Throw up the video, y'all, and share the live. Throw up the video, y'all, and share the live. We just got started. In Asar Imhotep's first demonstration on Sonata TV, on his faulty premise and scholastically unfounded premise that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin, he provides a source citation, right, which is passing in this segment as if it's agreeing with him that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. Even though when you scour through the source with a fine-tooth comb, you see and realize that the source doesn't even agree with Asar Imhotep's conclusions, which is why, let me go to my post-its. Remember I told you about these post-its? I took some notes as I was watching Asar Imhotep's videos. And I said, I want to make sure I touch on these points that he made. One of the points that I hit on is that Asar Imhotep, let me find it. Okay. All right, this is the old one. Okay. Asar Imhotep draws conclusions that are not even found in the very academic sources that he's quoting, which is on the screen right now. It says, Lewis 2020b, chapter 6, review the question in some detail, concluding that the consensus of scholarship is certainly correct that Yahweh represents a verbal form with the yod representing the third masculine singular verbal prefix of the verb hayah, to be. Even though the bulk of Asar Imhotep's presentation is to prove otherwise. Asar Imhotep says scholars are disagreeing on what the name Yahweh means because nobody really knows what it means. The Hebrew Bible, Asar Pseudotep says, is full of folk etymology. So none of their lexical definitions can be trusted. They're just making things up. Asar Imhotep, do you read Hebrew? The answer is no. So who are you to make that statement? I put some respect on what you're saying if at the least bit you demonstrated that you read Hebrew, but you don't. To have Hebrew words in English on the screen or even in Hebrew does not suggest to anybody who's knowledgeable that you know Hebrew. Reading Hebrew tells us that you know Hebrew. The one thing that's lacking in your lectures, among many other things. So who are you to come to those conclusions on your own that don't even agree with what you're citing here? Because what you just wrote, and I'll present it on the Summer Jam screen big for everybody to see, is the consensus of scholarship is certainly correct that Yahweh represents a verbal form with the Y representing the third masculine singular prefix of the verb hayah. Or if I can just cut straight to the chase, get past all of the linguistics, the consensus of scholarship is certainly that Yahweh means to be. That's the consensus. Even though all the while in Asar Imhotep's presentation, he continually said, most scholars disagree. You stupid idiot. The source you're citing disagrees with what you're saying, and you're attempting to use it to validate what you're saying. Then you say Zion doesn't know how to vet and read through sources. Are you retarded? The very source that you're quoting to demonstrate that scholars disagree in majority on the origin and lexical meaning and value of the name Yahweh, the source you're citing says the opposite. It actually says, as everybody could see, the consensus of scholarship is certainly correct that Yahweh represents a verbal form with the Y representing the third masculine singular verbal prefix of the verb hayah, to be. The first point of evidence for Lewis is Exodus 3:14. In other words, guys, the first point of evidence for the source that Asar Imhotep is quoting, which says that the scholarly consensus agrees that Yahweh comes from the root hayah, which means to be, The source text that he goes to is Exodus 3:14. Exactly what I said to you earlier. The Hebrew Bible, you know, the primary source text. It further says, the first point of evidence for Lewis is Exodus 3:14, because the first point of evidence should be primary, looking at primary documents. Note the recent proposal by Durrell to seek a different verb, hayah, which means to destroy. Let me tell you guys something about what I said earlier about sleight of hand, because you got to watch these conscious community cats. They're real slick. Asar Imhotep has a citation. Remember, this is a screenshot of his presentation on Sonetta. He has a citation, which I screenshotted myself to represent what he did, which says that the scholarly consensus of the meaning of Yahweh is that it means to be. At the very bottom, he highlights in red one difference of opinion, which says we should seek a different verb, one which means to destroy, and then tells you that that view represents the majority, so as to throw down everything else he quoted above. Don't believe me? Look at the goddamn screen. How, Sway? When I say how, Sway, I'm speaking about y'all. How are y'all allowing him and people like him to get away with calling that scholarship? That's called sleight of hand. It's a whole magic trick. He just said something before your very eyes that did not represent the very thing he placed before your eyes, because he did it all with sleight of hand. It's a whole magic trick. Let me keep going. Then he quotes Niv Allen in his rebuttal, and he says, Zion Lex is incorrect. Zion Lex is incorrect because I'm saying that Yahweh is of volcanic origin. That's not nothing new. I've been saying this since 2014. In fact, I can go back to ebooks that I've written in 2011 and show you that I've been saying this. And then he pulls up the ebook that he writes in 2011, and he shows you that he's talking about it in the footnotes. I'm going to say it again because people are really stupid, but I'm not. He says that he's been knowing about this, and he's been talking about Yahweh is also a term denoting a volcano and fire. He says Zion Lex is wrong in saying that I got it from a Jewish website. He goes to the Jewish website that I presented, and he shows that the author published that in 2018. Then he takes you to his works to 2014 and says, look, I've been mentioned that Yahweh is not of Hebrew origin. Then he takes you to 2011 and he says, look, I mentioned here in my ebook in 2011 that Yahweh as a name identifies with fire and volcanoes. And he takes you to the footnote section where his footnote traces to somebody else that said it in passing. But nonetheless, what I want to emphasize is, you see, if what he was saying was the established idea he wished to present in that work, you wouldn't simply see it in the footnote. You see it in the bulk of the written work. It's just in a little footnote in 2011. It is not actually part of the greater literature. It's a footnote to another source. So it's something that he was aware of in passing. But as I stated, it wasn't until he looked at the 2018 article that he was able to, as they say, come out the closet and go public with this. But he needed to close the closet door and go right back. So that was super corny of him to do, but I'm intelligent enough to read through what people are doing. So watch this now. He then goes to an elder that, a lot of people, many of us have great respect for. He goes to Dr. Ben. And by the way, this is called appealing to authority. Him and his little cohorts, the little sorority girls that he's with, that has after parties after the lectures, they love to tell people who challenge their work and present elders, elder statesmen, with works that differ from theirs. They say when we do that, we're appealing to authority. We're going to the elders. So what the hell is Asar Imhotep doing right now when he has Dr. Ben on the screen, seemingly agreeing with his point? Is he not appealing to authority as well, you big ass jackass? Yeah, that's pretty much how that works. It's called hypocrisy. But watch this. Because we respect Dr. Ben so much, many of us, it's hard to go back and make critique when necessary. But there's no elder above correction, as you're going to hear me say in a video that I'm about to play. And I said that, anybody can be critiqued. You just should, if at the least bit, be careful in how you present your critique so as not to disrespect our elders, right? But nobody's above reproach, nobody's above critique. Having said that, I pointed out in my rebuttal to Asar Imhotep using Dr. Ben as a source on the Medu Neter, I pointed out one very important thing. Dr. Ben doesn't read Medu Neter. So Dr. Ben should have never been used as a linguistic source, a Medu Neter scholar, to confirm what the Medu Neter is saying. Asar Imhotep, in his presentation on Sonnet TV, he even tells people you can go to Dr. Ben's book, Black Man of the Nile, and you can see that even Dr. Ben is saying these things. With all due respect, Dr. Ben never studied Medu Neter. So I understand and even respect while he made the error. But you, Asar Imhotep, you style yourself as the greatest linguist alive. You style yourself as the greatest person to look at and touch Medu Neter alive. You so full of yourself, sometimes it looks like you're licking yourself on the screen and smelling yourself. So while I can understand why Dr. Ben would make the error because he doesn't do Medu Neter, I gotta look at you crazy. Because you say nobody does it quite like you. And I'm starting to agree with that, except in a reverse direction from where you're taking it. So watch this. I'm gonna go to what we call Exhibit A. And I'm gonna let you guys see for yourself how Asar Imhotep is a failure at scholarship. Don't believe me, see for yourself. Let's let Asar Imhotep speak for himself. Because he likes to say that Zion Lex twists his words. I misrepresent the things that he's saying. So let's allow Asar Imhotep to speak for himself. I want everybody to watch and look very, very carefully. I would like everybody to watch and look very, very carefully. Since Asar Imhotep wants you to believe that I'm going to misrepresent his words, I thought it would be a kind gesture, scholar to pseudo, to allow him to speak for himself. So here we go.
I do. And we'll get into a little bit more of that. And so, Dr. Ben, back in the day, in this text, Black Man of the Nile, he was one of the first to, at least in the African community.
Yeah, I'm going to call it right now. I think I found the single biggest productivity hack of 2021. It's this Google Chrome extension called
African world community to make the argument that the word YAHWEH was actually in the Egyptian text. And so for those who have association with the storm god Adu, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. And so, Dr. Ben, back in the day, in this text, Black Man of the Nile, he was one of the first to, at least in the African community, African world community, to make the argument that the word Yahweh was actually in the Egyptian text. And so for those who have Black Man and the Nile and his family, you can go to page 344 and you can, see his commentary on that. And so, but the thing is that he was the first to, at least in the African community, African world community, to make the argument that the word Yahweh was actually in the Egyptian text. And so for those who have Black Man and the Nile and his family, you can go to page 344 and you can, see his commentary on that. And so, but the thing is that he doesn't provide the actual place of the form in which he has in his book. But luckily, I have many dictionaries, and we're able to find variations of the word in the other dictionaries. So these are the other two forms of the word.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. All right, watch this. So let me stop there right now because I want to add some critique to what we're looking at. So what Asar Imhotep does in a very sneakily way, right, is he takes us to Dr. Ben, and he shows that Dr. Ben, y'all still saying we can't hear you, but guys, my volume up now. Y'all gotta listen. The volume is up now. I've been took off the mute. Still muted? Y'all still don't hear me? If y'all can hear me, type a 1 in the room. I won't go further unless y'all can hear me. If y'all can hear me, type a 1 in the room. If you can't hear me, let me know. If you can hear me, type a 1 in the room. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right, here we go. Thumb up the video and share the live while y'all at it. Thumb up the video and share the live while y'all at it. Salute to you all. Now watch this. What Asar Pseudotep does in this presentation on Son of the TV was very slick. It's a magic trick. I told you, short sleight of hand. He takes you to Dr. Ben's book, Black Man of the Nile. And he says Dr. Ben was one of the first people to tell you, make the connection that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. Then he says, the only thing problematic about that is that Dr. Ben never cited a source in the text. And then he says, but I went to the dictionaries and I found where he got it from. Asar Imhotep. All you did was go to the dictionaries to see the dictionary entry of a name you believe in question relates to Yahweh. You have yet to open any primary text in all of ancient Kemet to demonstrate to us your point of view that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. Why have you yet to open any Kemetic text that agrees with the points you're saying, even and more importantly, the point on the screen right now that you're saying that people should go look at? Because if Yahweh is of Egyptian origin, surely the people of Kemet are speaking about it somewhere. Don't you guys say nobody writes and records more than Kemet? Nobody writes and records more than the people of Egypt? So then if that's the case, brother Asar Imhotep, shouldn't we be able to find in the Kemetic literature where the people themselves, primary source texts? Asar Imhotep always says, I'm a stickler for the methodology. For me, it's about the methodology. Well, so far, all we're seeing from you is poor methodology, all the while drill rapping about wanting to do good methodology. All we're seeing from you is poor methodology while drill rapping in our ears that you would like to do good methodology one day. We hope that day comes soon, but so far you haven't provided us with that day nor that hour. So watch this, because I got more. So in my presentation, when I rebutted Asar Imhotep, watch what I say in response to Asar Imhotep using Dr. Ben. I want everybody to pay real attention to this. Watch what I say in my rebuttal to Asar Imhotep attempting to use Dr. Ben as a Medu Neter source. I want y'all to really watch. Here we go. The next slide that I want to share for you is even more interesting because it's from a dear past elder who great respect is given to. And that elder's name is Dr. Ben. Oftentimes in the community, people ask questions such as, the elders get the respect, all the respect that they earn and that they deserve. But at one point, right, do we say that an elder is above correction or edification? What if an elder gave information that is outdated, right, that new scholarship proves is wrong? What if an elder simply just gave bad or wrong information? So Ankh posed this question to Mfudiji and Professor Smalls when Professor Smalls, Mfudiji, and Baba Hiru were on Sarneta's couch. And Brother Ankh called in and he said, I'm going to ask you guys a question because Ankh disagreed with some of their information. He said, when we feel that the elders are wrong, we respect y'all. How do we go about, bringing edification? What if the elders' information is outdated? And they embraced it, which is wisdom. They didn't shoot him down. They said he was absolutely correct. So with that same energy, I'm hoping we keep. I want y'all to see something real quick. Asar Imhotep put up on the Summer Jam screen that Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen in his book, Black Man of the Nile and His Family, 1972, written in 1972, page 344, asserts that the name Yahweh was a minor ancient Egyptian divinity. I'm going to say it again. Dr. Ben asserts in his book, according to Asar Imhotep, right? We're trusting that this is what's recorded in the book. And I'm not saying that because I disagree with it. I'm saying this is what he's representing in his PowerPoint presentation. All right. So he says that Dr. Ben asserts that the name Yahweh was a minor ancient Egyptian divinity. He traced it to the 26th dynasty, 663 to 527, before the Common Era. However, he does not provide a source for this set of glyphs in his text. By the way, just to be clear, that was him throwing shade at Dr. Ben. Because a lot of the new up-and-coming young guys in the Kemetic community, they dying to be the next Dr. Ben. And it might kill them. Because ego and pride goeth before a great fall. And so, all right, let me pause it there and now get into my actual rebuttal as to why I think, feel, and say that Dr. Ben was incorrect in making this assertion. So now listen to this. Archive, y'all, to pull out a clear, nice, clear picture of the name Yah on the far left, right? Ben and now Asar Imhotep. And I'm going to show you in the Medu Neter why that's incorrect. So watch this. Starting, guys, from the far left, right? And again, crash course in Medu Neter, 60 seconds or less, let's say. You're looking at a hieroglyphic or Medu Neter inscription and you're asking yourself, from which direction should I start reading? I don't know. I'm new to this language, right? So Medu Neter is read from the direction that things are facing. So if you notice, to the far right is a seated deity, right? That's a determinative for Neter or God. So whomever this name is the name of a god. He's facing left. You look further up at the quail chick, or the baby chicken, and you notice that it's also facing left. So that means you should start the reading of this inscription from the left to the right. All right, crash course. You're looking at the first symbol to the far left, which is a single reed leaf, which can be an I or a Y. Then you're looking at the twisted flax in the middle. Then you're looking at the quail chick. So in other words, you have Y, H, W. Sometimes the quail chick is also a vowel where it means ooh. In fact, oftentimes, when the quail chick is anywhere other than the last symbol, it usually represents a W. At the end, it almost always represents a vowel, ooh, right? But in this case, it's rendered W, for whatever reason, let's say. So you have YHW, which if we add phonetics or vowels, can easily be Yahweh. But the Egyptians also added something to this. They added a divine standard, and on top of it, the kasut glyph. Let me show you. The divine standard is this right here that you saw the hawk on earlier. And remember I said to you, it's in the earliest periods of Egypt, pre-dynastic to early dynastic Kemet, that this divine standard is used as a determinative for a necher. So it lets you know that whatever deity this is supposed to represent is a deity that goes all the way back to the early dynastic, if not even pre-dynastic Egypt, which validates and authenticates Hebrew tradition. Yahweh wasn't born yesterday. It also crushes Asar Imhotep's pseudo point, and I gotta call a spade, when he made associations between the name Yahweh as used among the Canaanites. The Canaanites are predominantly as a nation state or as nation states. Like the children of Israel, they're an Iron Age people, right? Their history is attested during the Iron Age, all right? Now, the divine standard goes all the way back to the late Bronze Age period, right? The late 4th millennia BC. The late 4th millennia BC. The late 3000s, 3200 BC, 3100 BC, 3000 BC, the late 4th millennia BCE. So it's letting you know that whoever this deity is goes back before Kemet was even a people. So Asar, I'm not sure if you're paying attention to what I would draw to your attention once again, that Yahweh, the name Yahweh, even predates Kemet being a people. There is no name Kemet in pre-dynastic Egypt. There is no people called Kemet in early dynastic or pre-dynastic Egypt. But you're pointing out the name Yahweh, which just based on the symbols, the Medu Neter, shows that it's a early dynastic and pre-dynastic deity, which you're pointing out by implication of Asar Imhotep, which means you're actually hustling backwards, is that Yahweh precedes even the formation of the nation state of Kemet and even the name Kemet, as it did not exist in the early dynastic or pre-dynastic period. So shout out to you for saying it. Double shout out to me for pointing it out and emphasizing it. I told y'all, throw up the video and shit alive. We're going to have fun with this.
We completely changed health.
All right, we're going to stop that one right there because I got one more to show you. I'm going to stop that one right there because I got one more video to show you. The presentation is far from done, but I got one more video to show you. So let me just bring you guys back to speed completely with where we are at. And let me say this to you really, really quick. Let me take away some of this. All right. And now let me say this. All right, boom. In Asar Imhotep's original presentation on Sonnet TV, he used Dr. Ben as a source to validate that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin, the name Yahweh. He uses a Meta Neter inscription that Dr. Ben cites without Dr. Ben nor himself showing us to where this citation belongs. What text can we look in and find and know what they're talking about? Instead, it's just this is what's in the dictionary and this is what it means. And then I guess that's scholarship. Then I rebutted Asar Imhotep when he used Dr. Ben, because the first obvious thing I said is Dr. Ben doesn't do Meta Neter. So he's not a credible source in looking at the language to say that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. He doesn't do Meta Neter, so he can't verify it. So anything he says about it is not credible. It's not a diss to him, it's just the facts. I want to tell y'all something. Asar Imhotep not only knows that what I'm saying was true, but as you're about to watch right now, he said it on his live. He said Dr. Ben didn't even know what the hell he was talking about because Dr. Ben doesn't do Meta Neter. But the point that y'all need to hone in on, he only said this because I rebutted it and brought out that Dr. Ben doesn't do Meta Neter. So in Asar Imhotep's response video to me, he now says Dr. Ben doesn't know what the hell he was talking about. But again, y'all, don't believe me. Let Asar Imhotep speak for himself.
You know, this is a screenshot of Zion Lex taking a screenshot of part of the slides that I was showing on Soneta's program. And so you can see Zion Lex's you know, kind of thumbnail up here on the right-hand side, and at the bottom you can see his, you know, his scrolling thing telling you to support and hit the like button. And so what he tries to do is he spent a whole bunch of time on this slide.
All right, stop right there. Because this idiot actually just fixed his mouth to say, Zion Lex spent a whole bunch of time on this slide, as I should, you idiot. It's a citation that you're using where Dr. Ben, not you, because we know you, Pseudo, but where Dr. Ben is saying that the Meta Neter proves that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. So you damn right I spent a lot of time there. What was so complex about that? Y'all be following pure idiots.
And so I introduce here in this slide Dr. Ben's text, Black Man of the Nile and His Family. And on page 344, Dr. Ben talks about, he makes the argument that Yahweh was a minor ancient Egyptian deity, and which he traced to the 26th dynasty. And I state here that he doesn't provide a source for the text. So this is this is my, you know, screen of the my slide of the screen screenshot that you just saw, so you can see down here clear. So this is, if you can't read the hieroglyphs, this is, you know, E or Y, and then this is the an H, kind of guttural H with the dot that we were representing. We represented as an H with a dot under it in terms of our transliteration, and this is the W sign, the quail chick. And so these last three hieroglyphs that you see at the bottom are what we call, it's commonly called a determinative, but it's really, these are really classifiers, because they belong to categories, and they're letting you know what categories, what classes that the word, which these are represented phonetically on this side here, belong to. And so this chassid glyph right here informs you that this is referring to a foreign entity or foreign place. And this is a standard, and this is the last icon is a deity.
I'm sorry, y'all, but I had to pause that. Because did y'all just hear Asar Imhotep say for himself the very same thing you heard me say? That the determinative on the divine standard is a determinative for a foreign place or foreign people. And the fact that that determinative, I'm adding this, is on that glyph which he says is Yahweh, is not proof, Asar Pseudotep, that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. They put the foreign determinative or language classifier on it to show you that Yahweh is of foreign origin. Even Netanyahu came on the live earlier and agreed that Yahweh is of foreign origin, not of Egyptian origin. And he, unlike you, went to a primary source text to show the Shasu of Yahweh, which is a primary text, not dictionaries and pictures, but a primary text. You just agreed with me, Asar Pseudotep, that the determinative, which is on the divine standard, is the foreign determinative. I'm going to play that back so that people can hear it, by the way, in case they got amnesia. You know, the haters I'm speaking of. So that means you're agreeing with me that Yahweh is foreign, you big dummy. The people of Kemet knew Yahweh was not their God. Hence why they attached the foreign determinative on the divine standard, the standard for a netter or a God, to let you know that Yahweh was a foreign God. You big ass dummy.
Dot that we were represented as an H with a dot under it in terms of our transliteration, and this is the W sign, a quail chick. And so these last three hieroglyphs that you see at the bottom are what.
Listen to this, guys, because this is where he says exactly what I said. But notice he didn't say it until after I said it. Because remember, the video you're watching now is him rebuttaling my rebuttal to him. It's him responding to me critiquing his presentation on Son of the TV. And only now he admits, in looking at the glyphs, that there was a foreign determinative on the divine standard which represented nature or God. Why didn't he say that in his first presentation on Son of the TV? Because he knew it would be up for a debate whether or not Yahweh was truly of Egyptian origin. Because the foreign determinative would clearly establish that Yahweh was foreign to Egypt. And more importantly, that's how the people of Egypt viewed Yahweh. Hence why they wrote the foreign determinative. You big ass dummy.
What we call is commonly called a determinative, but it's these are really classifiers because they belong to categories, and they're letting you know what categories, what classes that the word, which these are represented phonetically on this side here, belong to. And so this chassid glyph right here informs you that this is referring to a foreign entity or foreign place. And this is a standard, and this is the last icon is a deity, a Netcher symbol, which is a seated man with a beard, and he has like a long head cloth on, a standard shepherd's head cloth. And so for him, allegedly, I didn't go through this a long time, so this is supposed to indicate that that Yahweh was a foreign deity. So what he's trying to argue is that Yahweh is an indigenously Semitic deity, and that the record he's using this to argue that that is found in the Egyptian hieroglyphs, but it is referring to an indigenously foreign deity. And my argument is the exact opposite. Because if you followed our conversation about Set, you know that he is a deity that is native to Egypt, but he represents the border, like he's a deity of all the borders, like all the border towns and things. That is where they would have military garrisons. the one of the patron deities for those military garrisons and border facilities would be the god Set. And so, and he was also associated with various different deities of foreign people. And so, and this is partially because the Egyptians viewed the foreigners, you know, from all directions in many respects as enemies and or sources of chaos. And so Set represents that spirit of chaos in amongst the living groups that exist outside of Egypt who don't adhere to the values and things of Egyptian culture. So that's what is being represented, not that it is a foreign god. And so here's a scan of the original document of Black Man in the Nile and his family by Dr. Ben. So you can see, you know, this kind of hand drawn in thing here. And so at this part of the book, they're doing a question and answer. And so somebody asked the question, how did the ancient Africans of Egypt write Jehovah? And so Dr. Ben answers, the strangest chain of events in Egyptian religious history is topped by the 26 dynasties divine emblem of the figure of one of the gods named Yahweh, right? Written in hieroglyph as this, he says the first 4 letters mean divinity. And the last is a picture of the God himself. And you got to remember that Dr. Ben didn't read hieroglyphs.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What did Asar Imhotep just say? He said, Dr. Ben says that the glyphs that you're looking at on the screen actually means divinity. Now, anybody that reads Medu Neter knows that that is grossly incorrect. Asar Imhotep knows that that's grossly incorrect. And that's why you just heard him say, you got to remember, Dr. Ben doesn't read Medu Neter. That's called a chin check to yourself, Asar Imhotep. Because if Dr. Ben doesn't read Medu Neter, why did you use him as a Medu Neter source to agree with your linguistic, I don't know, endeavor to prove that Yahweh's of Egyptian origin? Why did you use Dr. Ben as a linguistic source on Sonata TV when you yourself know that Dr. Ben never read Medu Neter? You see, I can answer that. I know why. You did it because you're a whole magician. It's called sleight of hand. You know that Soneta's audience, and let's just call a spade, are some of the dumbest fucking people on YouTube world. So you know that when the topic is the Hebrews, that they're going to agree with anything they say because they're the dumbest people in the fucking YouTube world. We all know that. And you knew that. So that's why you tried that. But the problem is, you're talking about my heritage, my culture, and my God. So you should have known that I was going to be on your ass. Pause. Which is why I responded to you. And it was only after I responded and pointed out that Dr. Ben doesn't read Medu Neter that you now come and admit in your second video, in a response to me, that Dr. Ben doesn't read Medu Neter, and that's why he made such a mistake when he said that this means divinity. I'm going to let the rest play so you can continue playing yourself. Watch how silly he gets in going against what he tried to do, which is use Dr. Ben as his source. Throw up the video, y'all, and share it live. We in rare form tonight. I'm going to let that part play back just a little bit more, y'all.
The sounds of the language. There's only 6 glyphs. And so the last three glyphs, this sign here at the top is just a series of mountains in sequence, and represents the kind of other or foreign, or that which is beyond the borders, of Egypt, right? What is over, the horizon. And then, of course, the last two glyphs, the one under the mountains and the seated man itself, is the so-called determinatives or the classifiers that represent the divine, right? And this last picture is not of the god Yahweh. That's just a standard hieroglyphic glyph to represent the class of deity, right? So he's incorrect here. He says, note that the Egyptian god was adopted by the Harabu, the Hebrews, colloquially the Jews, in their own mythology about the creation of the world. Yahweh was the name of the very minor god, equally Amen.
By the way, let me stop that right there, y'all, because I don't think y'all seen this. The fact that this idiot put this on the screen is killing their community even more. I told y'all that conscious community has some of the dumbest people in the YouTube world. Don't believe me? Listen to me carefully. Because the source that he's using in Dr. Ben's work to show and demonstrate that Yahweh is of Egyptian origin, even though he comes back now and admits that Dr. Ben doesn't read Meta Netra, right below that, in that same book, Dr. Ben described the Hebrews, the biblical Hebrews, as the Habiru in Egypt. You know what all the conscious community teachers like to lie today and say, the Hebrews never existed, it's a lie. And then you hear people like Zion Lex come and say, no, the Hebrews existed in Egypt. In fact, the people of Egypt spoke of them. They're mentioned in Kemet. They're mentioned by this name. They're called the Habiru. They're called the Habiru. What are you talking about? They're called the Habiru. Notice that in Dr. Ben's citation that Asar Imhotep tried to use to pass off scholarship, it shows that Dr. Ben told you exactly what Zion Lex told you, that the Habiru in ancient Kemet, which are well sourced as a people in Kemet and even enslaved, are the same Hebrews of the Bible. This is why I told you their community has some of the dumbest, stupid people in all of YouTube world. But let me keep going. This is fun, y'all. This is fun. I need y'all to really pay attention because there's a lot going on.
The so-called determinatives or the classifiers that represent the divine, right? And this last picture is not of the god Yahweh. That's just a standard hieroglyphic glyph to represent the class of deity, right? So he's incorrect here. He says, note that the Egyptian god was adopted by the Harabu, the Hebrews, colloquially the Jews, in their own mythology about the creation of the world. Yahweh was the name of the very minor god, equally Amen, who later became the Amen at the end of the most Jewish and Christian prayers and hymns. And so he makes this common mistake. So when people believe that the word Amen is also at the end of the prayers amongst the Jews and Christians, that the Egyptian god Amen is at the end of the prayers, that is incorrect.
Uh-oh! Did y'all just hear a Meta Netra scholar tell some of y'all dumbass Hebrews that Amen does not refer to the Egyptian god, the Amen in the Bible? That is incorrect. He teaches Kemet and he told you it's incorrect. So why some of y'all dumbass Hebrews teach, hey, I heard that we shouldn't say Amen, it come out of Egypt. I put that in my very first book, that it has no relationship to the Egyptian god Amun. Yet, when I go among some Hebrews, they say, we shouldn't be saying Amen. Why? because it's an Egyptian god. You dumbass! You making us look weak because you want to be sloppy and you want to be lazy and you don't want to jump in this Hebrew class and this Torah class and all these classes we got going on. Get your ass in the class and stop making us look weak. Some of y'all the weakest link out here, and we ain't got time for that. We're in the fourth quarter, the clock is running, and too many of y'all is weak sauce. You a 6-man. Get off the starting 5. I told y'all, throw up the video and share the live.
And matter of fact, I deal with that in this book here, Shiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological story. And you'll find in the appendix the conversation on that, which shows that they are related to the very minor god, equally Amen, who later became the Amen at the end of the most Jewish and Christian prayers and hymns. And so he makes this common mistake. So when people believe that the word Amen is also at the end of the prayers amongst the Jews and Christians, that the Egyptian god Amen is at the end of the prayers, that is incorrect. They're two semantically and conceptually different concepts. However, they are related. And
did y'all just hear Asar Pseudotep say, Amen in the Bible and Amen in Egypt are two semantically different sources in linguistic families? He says, however, they are related, but they're not linguistically related. They're not the same thing when you speak it. It's a totally different language. When the Hebrews say Amen, it means so be it. When it's mentioned in Kemet, they're talking about a nature, a deity, a god. I need y'all to put a lot of respect on this platform, because you just need to look around and ask yourself a question. Who the hell else in the Israelite community is out here defending this? I'll wait. Publicly, using their platforms to defend this. I'll wait. Here we go.
And matter of fact, I deal with that in this book here, Shiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological story. And you'll find in the appendix the conversation on that, which shows that they are related concepts, but it's not the god Amen that you're referring to at the end of the prayer. So he's also incorrect. Matter of fact, this whole thing is just incorrect.
Wait. Did I just hear Asar Imhotep said Dr. Ben is incorrect in saying that this glyph on the screen means divinity? And then he says, you got to remember, Dr. Ben don't do Meta Nature. And then he just now said Dr. Ben is wrong when he says, let me make y'all, I got to talk to y'all real quick. Let me just surmise some of this for y'all. I got to talk to y'all real quick. Let me talk to you real quick. Did you just not hear him say a couple of moments ago, that Dr. Ben was wrong when he used this source, that inscription, and he called it a divinity? That's what it means. He said that's wrong. But then he said, you got to understand, Dr. Ben didn't do Metal Nature. Then now he says, when Dr. Ben compared the term Amen to the prayer Amen in the Hebrew Bible, that also was wrong. Then he actually fixed his mouth to say, well, in fact, all of this is wrong. So then why the fuck did you use it as a presentation on Sarnet's channel if all of this is fucking wrong? It's niggas like you that when the time come to do what we got to do, y'all first.
at the end of the prayers amongst the the Jews and Christians that the Egyptian god Amen is at the end of the prayers. That is incorrect. They're two semantically and conceptually different concepts. However, they are related. And matter of fact, I deal with that in this book here, Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological story. And you'll find in the appendix the conversation on that, which shows that they are related concepts, but it's not the god Amen that you're referring to at the end of the prayer. So he's also incorrect. On matter of fact, this whole thing is just incorrect. This whole conversation in page 344, Dr. Ben. We love Dr. Ben, but this whole thing is off.
Time the fuck out. I'm sorry, y'all, but sometimes I gotta curse. I gotta say things the way I feel it. Time the fuck out. Did he just say that this whole thing that Dr. Ben presented is incorrect? But then when he went on Sonnet TV, you watched him use it to validate that the term Yahweh is of Egyptian origin. To which I look the so-called conscious community in the eyes and I ask you just one question. How do you call these guys scholars? How do you subscribe, like, and share their videos? How do you put respect on them when he could freely admit, after I pulled his card, that Dr. Ben don't read Medu Neter, and in fact, this entire presentation that Dr. Ben give is altogether wrong, yet he still presented it on Sonnet TV to show that he was right. He uses everything that he now admits Dr. Ben did in error to prove to you that him using it is right. In the words of Kodak, I say to y'all, is this your king? I remember, shout out to Sonetta. I'm going to throw a jab real quick. I'm going to throw a light jab at you, Sonetta. Because Sonetta be gassing up these scholars. When Sonetta got so-called scholars for me, he'd be like, hey, Zion, I got somebody for you. I got somebody for you. Who you got? This person. I'm like, Sonetta, come on, man. Don't even insult me. Nah, he's a serious scholar. Sonetta, don't even insult me. I'm not going against that guy. And he'll tell you, true story. All the time, I'm like, nah. If he got somebody that's formidable, I'm like, let's get it in. The other day, he called me up and was like, yo, there's this guy that could teach Hebrew, and he's strong. And he called you out. I said, yeah, who is he? I said, all right, let me come on your platform. Smoked him. Then called Sonetta back later on that day and said, didn't I tell you these people you impressed with is food to me? Didn't I tell you that the people you impress with is food to me? But I know something that a lot of people don't know. Sonetta know a lot of these people are not who they say they are. At the end of the day, Sonetta's platform brings information, it galvanizes an audience, and he's here to feed the people. It's not always about matching the best people. Sometimes it's just about getting the people in the building. That's a fact. And I understand that about him, so I don't take things personal. But I just want to let y'all know, the niggas y'all impressed with, I'm not impressed with at all. They weak. They weak. Now watch this. Asar Imhotep, as you guys all heard, said Dr. Ben's entire citation is all wrong. But then y'all just watched him use it on Sonnet TV. Do y'all need a reminder? Let me run that back for you real quick to show you that he just lied. He says last night that Dr. Ben was wrong, but I'm going to play for you the original video that he went on Sonetta with, where he agreed with Dr. Ben. And that was just 7 days ago. Don't believe me? Listen again for yourself, for those of you who just came in. Listen to Asar Imhotep use Dr. Ben as a source 7 days ago, and then watch him last night agree with me that Dr. Ben is not a source on this topic because he doesn't do meta nature, and then watch Asar Imhotep go even further than that and say Dr. Ben was just all wrong. But don't believe me. Watch for yourself.
That's other information. What I wanted to associate here is that the word Yahweh here is in association with the storm god Adu. And we'll get into a little bit more of that. And so, you know, Dr. Ben, back in the day, in this text, Black Man of the Nile, you know, he was one of the first to, at least in the African community, African world community, to make the argument that the word Yahweh was actually in the Egyptian text. And
wait, hold on, Asar, I'm confused because you're gonna go on 7 days after you said this here to agree with me that Dr. Ben was wrong, and in fact, everything he said there was wrong. But here we're listening to you cite him as a credible source, even though 7 days later you're gonna go against him and agree with me. You can't trust these conscious community niggas, because that's what a lot of them are, degenerate and ignorant. You know, niggas.
so for those who have Black Man in the Nile and his family, you can go to page 344 and you can, you know, see his commentary on that. And so, but the thing is that he doesn't provide the actual place of the form in which.
All right, so y'all just heard Asar Imhotep go and take you to Dr. Ben's book and try and attempt to use it to validate his point while he was on Started a TV. And then I responded and I said, Dr. Ben cannot be used as a source because he doesn't read Medu Neter. You know, I just had to shake shit up and reminded people of some facts that people probably had forgot. And then finally, 7 days later, after I responded to him, Asar Imhotep finally does a response video to me and admits that Dr. Ben was wrong, and even adds he doesn't do Medu Neter, and even adds everything he said in that very citation was wrong. So now the question is, Asar Imhotep, if everything Dr. Ben said in that citation was wrong, why did you use him?
Is the so-called determinants or the classifiers that represent the divine, right? And this last picture is not of the god Yahweh. That's just a standard hieroglyphic glyph to represent the class of deity, right? So he's incorrect here. He says, note that the Egyptian god was adopted by the Harabu, the Hebrews, colloquially the Jews, in their own mythology about the creation of the world. Yahweh was the name of the very minor god, equally Amen, who later became the Amen at the end of the most Jewish and Christian prayers and hymns. And so he makes this common mistake. So when people believe that the word Amen is also at the end of the prayers amongst the, you know, the Jews and Christians, that the Egyptian god Amen is at the end of the prayers, that is incorrect. They're two semantically and conceptually different concepts. However, they are related. And matter of fact, I deal with that in this book here, Chiluba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, an exploratory etymological story. And you'll find in the appendix the conversation on that, which shows that they are related concepts, but it's not the god Amen that you're referring to at the end of the prayer. So he's also incorrect. On matter of fact, this whole thing is just incorrect. This whole conversation in page 3.
At this point, y'all, what am I debating? That's the question I have for y'all. Somebody tell me, at this point, what am I debating? After I responded and showed that Dr. Ben doesn't even read Medu Neter, after I responded and showed that the inscription that is there indicates that this Yahweh that he believes is Yahweh is actually of foreign origin and not Egyptian origin, why does Asar Imhotep use it on Sonnet TV, even though he can now admit that everything, I'm not saying it, y'all heard Asar saying it for himself, everything, he said this whole thing is wrong. With that being said, y'all, I don't beat up on children, and I don't kick people while they're on the ground. The debate topic is over. The very source he used to establish that his point is correct, after I responded to him and pointing out that his source is not a credible source because he doesn't do Medu Neter, Asar comes back and agrees with me and even goes further because he says everything Dr. Ben said there was entirely wrong. The God Amen or Amun in Egypt is not the same as the Hebrew Amen. You heard Asar Imhotep say it. He even showed that Dr. Ben called the biblical Hebrews the same well-documented people in ancient Kemet, the Habiru, something that most of the Kemetic scholars today like to lie and say isn't true, even though they say that they stand on the foot and the shoulders of the elders. We stand on the elder scholarship. We stand on their shoulders. Well, Dr. Ben said that the Hebrews of the Bible are a well-documented people in Kemet known as the Habiru, who we know are enslaved by Egyptians right inside Egypt. Why come you didn't mention that, Asar Imhotep? Because that was right under the line that you were quoting. Then you admit that Dr. Ben doesn't do Medu Neter, and the entire citation that you used of him was entirely wrong, even though you used it on Sonnet TV and even told people they can go there to see that the first validation of Yahweh being of Egyptian origin is Dr. Ben, something you now admit is entirely wrong. What y'all want me to do? Beat up on a child? The man is on the floor. I mean, I could be merciless sometimes. If he dies, he dies. But I'm not going to beat up on him anymore at this point. What I will do at this point is present scholarship. Guys, throw up the video and share the live because I just got started. Now, I'm going to show you primary source evidence. I'm going to take you to what the Hebrews say about their God, and I'm going to show you how the Hebrews viewed their God. You know, looking at the primary source text of how the Hebrews viewed their God, that's what I'm going to look at. And watch that while Asar Imhotep showed 2 or 3 verses in the Bible which showed that Yahweh can destroy, Yahweh can bring fire, why didn't you show the other thousands of sources where Yahweh is associated with mercy, where Yahweh is associated with love? But don't worry, y'all. After this commercial break, I'm coming back to bury him. Y'all just, he's in right now. I want everybody to take his body, and I want you to put it in the cooler. You know, put it in the cooler. Put it on chill. All right? When I come back, we're going to bury him live. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Still haven't tried the Locklicious All Natural Hair Care product line? Well, let's hear what the Lock community has to say about it.
I love how it sprays and how it fills, you guys. Like, it feels so good. And it smells amazing, you guys.
The Lock and Twist moisturizer was really good for me. The hydration mist was phenomenal.
This is bomb, baby. I was really impressed, kind of blown away, and I think that if you're struggling, definitely go check them out.
And check out the 5-star reviews on our website. So, what are you waiting for? Go to locklicious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
Here we go, and here we go. I'm going right into it. Rare form. Here we go. Watch me go to work. So he already destroyed the very source that he used. Right? He already destroyed the very source that he used. By the way, they tried to attempt in their after party that I was appealing to authority by, going into various sources, even though he's using Dr. Ben, which was the wrong authority to use on this topic because, unfortunately, this great elder, and I got a lot of respect for Dr. Ben, he doesn't do Meta Netra. So how is he a credible source in this argument? Why did you drag the elder out? Let him rest. His work is amazing. Don't drag him out to discredit him and say all of this was incorrect. You're disrespecting the very elder that you say you stand on his shoulders. I would never do that to my elders. Let me show you guys something. In my first rebuttal to Asar Imhotep, I point out that the term quote unquote Yahweh, right? And he's saying Yahweh, but again, you know who does language from who doesn't do language from what they're saying, right? Nobody who reads Hebrew is calling the Hebrew God Yahweh, right? I'm only saying that now for the purpose of responding to what he's saying, right? But when you read the Hebrew Bible, it's recorded nowhere Yahweh. You're not going to find Yahweh in the Hebrew Bible. It doesn't exist. That's an anglicized translation or transliteration of the Hebraic term. All right, that's just number one. So the term Yehovah, it is derived from the past, present, and future tense of the Hebrew verb to exist, which is Hayah. Right? We say often in a prayer we call Adon Olam during our Yom Kippur service, we say, Hu Hayah, Hu Howe, Hu Yeh, meaning we call the Creator He who was, He who is, and He who shall be, the Eternal One, right? The Eternal One. That is the root of His name. Not to destroy, not to bring fire, not to bring down wrath. The root of His name in Hebrew is coming from the past, present, and future tense of the Hebrew verb to exist, which is why in the very source that Asar Imhotep quoted, it said that the scholarly consensus about the origin of the name Yahweh is that it means to be or to exist, which is exactly what I'm showing you right now. Throw up the video and share it live, y'all. Real scholarship is on the table now. This is what Asar Imhotep cannot do, right? You're not doing real scholarship if you're not weighing both sides of the argument equally. When you're leaning on one side and being extreme, right, with your findings, then we know you're full of shit. If Asar Imhotep understood what's called looking at the culture of a people when assessing the quality and character of their overall cultural traits, he would have never made the fallacious and blatant error that Yahweh is a God of destruction, a God of death. Because if you studied the Hebrew culture, you'd know that of the several divine epithets, titles, and names for the Hebrew God of the Bible, Yahweh is the one name that denotes mercy and love. It's actually the term Elohim in the Hebrew Bible that denotes judgment, wrath. Hence why in Exodus chapter 21, verse 6, the Hebrew judges are in fact called Elohim because they represent justice. They are the ones who bring and pass down and hand down judgment. And when the Creator is judging the world, in the Hebrew Bible, you find the attribute Elohim. It's also the reason why the term God or Elohim in Hebrew is the only and exclusive term used in all of Genesis chapter 1. You don't find Yahweh at all in Genesis chapter 1. You only find the term Elohim. The term Elohim denotes justice, judgment, morality, and ethics. And according to Hebrew tradition, the universe is built on righteousness. Hence, it says all through the Proverbs, righteousness is the foundation of the universe. Even your tradition in Kemet has an elder statesman or an elder netcher, right, by the name of Ptah, the craftsman, who creates the world through speech, but he also uses the netcher, the goddess Ma'at, the goddess of law, to create the world. Because in your tradition also, the creator of the world founded the world on morality, ethics, and justice. You see, when you are a novice, a newbie, a freshman, you're only looking to talk about the things that separate us. You can always know when you're in the room with a brother, those of the brotherhood, an initiate, an adept. All right? You always know when you're in the room with your brother. An initiate, an adept, a person initiated into a mystery system, knows first and foremost that we are all telling the same story. Some have greater parts of it. Some of us have smaller pieces of the puzzle while others have greater pieces. Some of us have bigger pieces of the puzzle while others have smaller pieces, but we are all retelling the same story from our own lens, so you will see commonality in all of the traditions, albeit difference and nuances in various areas. But you so small and fickle-minded, you want us to talk about everything that distances us, that you can't sit down over a cup of tea to see that we are retelling the same story from our lenses. In the Hebrew Bible, the term Yahweh denotes mercy and love. Anybody who knows the Hebraic tradition knows that in the book of Exodus, chapter 33, in the book of Numbers, chapter 14, we're introduced to something called the 13 attributes of mercy, which Kabbalistically, y'all can't go as deep as me. Trust me when I tell you. Which Kabbalistically, we refer to the 13 attributes of Yahweh, or the 13 attributes of mercy, as Arik Anpin, right? Which means long face in Hebrew. It's congruent or parallel to the term Erek Apayim, which literally means long face. Kabbalistically, we say Arik Anpin, which is an Aramaic term. In Hebrew, in the Hebrew Bible, that's the term Erek Apayim, which means long of suffering, or long face, literally, which is translated in the Hebrew Bible into English as long suffering, merciful. Then when you go to Numbers 14, there's a reduction, because the mercy of Yahweh can at times be tempered with judgment based on the morale of the people. So in Exodus 14, we're introduced to what's called the small face, or the 9 attributes of mercy, where Yahweh's mercy is now tempered with judgment. When you read the 13 attributes of mercy, which says, Yehovah, Yehovah, El Rakum, Yehovah, Yehovah, or Yahweh, Yahweh, the God of mercy, or the merciful God. But you so stupid, Asar Imhotep, in reading secondary and tertiary sources, because you're so goddamn biased against the primary source, that you don't know that. So because you're so biased against the primary source, you have escaped the entire point of scholarship, which is the pursuit of truth. Because if the pursuit of truth was really on your heart and on your mind, you would look at the primary source to see how the Hebrews viewed their God. And you would then be introduced to the idea that although the term Yahweh can denote judgment at times in the Bible, the overall connotation is mercy and love. Hence why in the Shema, our prayer that we say twice a day, 6 days a week, except Shabbat and holy days, we say that no matter how the Creator reveals himself, no matter how Yahweh reveals himself, he can reveal himself to us as a loving God if our actions call for it. He can reveal himself as a judgmental God if our actions call for it. But no matter which way he so chooses to reveal himself to us, he is all one. By the way, you big idiot, Asar Imhotep, if you were to open up your own text, which is the Runu Per Em Heru, you would see that the same thing is said of Amun and Re. That all of the body parts of Amun and Re, this is also spoken of in the pyramid text, all of the body parts of Amun Re are one. And although one body part may have this function and that body part may have one dysfunction, they all belong to the same body. Which is why you heard me say, novices look to seek out those points of contention when they sit down with people. You always know when you're in a room with a novice because they don't want to talk about the things they agree upon. For instance, my brother, with all due respect, I view him as my brother, Seba Mfudiji. When me and him sat in the room and we had that dialogue on the TV, you'll notice that we didn't talk about the things that distance us because we are brothers. We talked about those things that unite us. We talked about the commonality in our tradition because that's what initiates do. We don't seek to talk about those things that divide us because we have enough knowledge to know we're all telling and retelling the same story, albeit from different lenses. And some of us have greater parts of the story than others, but nonetheless, we're telling the same story. Some of us may have even lost their way and by default lost parts of the story due to losing their way. But because we can see commonality in the core foundation, we try our best not to first seek to look to see what distances us, but we try to see to look towards the things that unite us. Watch this. No matter how Yahweh reveals himself, we say every morning and every night, Shema Yisrael, Yehovah Eloheinu, Yehovah Echad. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, our God, Yahweh Echad, he is one. He can come to us in a loving way, in a merciful way. He can come to us as a God of judgment, a God of war. None of those attributes differentiate the many parts of the body. He is Echad, he is one. You see, there's a difference between knowing a tradition and speaking on it versus wanting to be famous and talking against everybody's traditions and then winding up sounding like a jackass by refuting the very source you used on Sunday the TV. With that being said, guys, I'm going to end the presentation here. To everybody in the building, I hope you guys learned a valuable lesson about, wanting to be the head honcho, wanting to be that guy. I hope we're all taking notes tonight to see that we're going to always have difference of opinion. We're going to always have different views, but the thing that we should seek is commonality. What are those things that galvanize and bring us together? I'm not interested, as you guys keep hearing me say, in those dialogues that distance us. I'm interested in those dialogues that show commonality, that bridge the gap. Because with more understanding of what we are all saying, we have a better opportunity and chance in uniting and affecting our own liberation. Because as the saying goes, nobody's coming for you. You got to save yourself. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy Zion Lex TV. I hope you guys enjoy what I do and what I promote and what I share. Thumb up the video and share it live. Israelite community. Israelite community. Oh, Israelite community. Donate to the platform and support your brother. Look around and ask yourself, who is representing for the Israelite community on this level? With that being said, everybody have a great night.
Still haven't tried the Locklicious all natural hair care product line? Well, let's hear what the Lock community has to say about it.
I love how it sprays and how it fills, you guys. Like, it feels so good. And it smells amazing, you guys.
The Lock and Twist moisturizer was really good for me. The hydration mist was phenomenal.
This is bomb, baby. I was really impressed, kind of blown away, and I think that if you're struggling, definitely go check them out.
And check out the 5-star reviews on our website. So, what are you waiting for? Go to locklicious.com to start treating your crown like royalty.
I wash my natural hair and my face with the same product because natural hair care is easy. Natural skin care is easy. Don't make it hard.
If you want to have a better view on how the Bible looks at women in its proper context, then you should get these two books. Matriarchs of the Covenant, written by Abdil Ben Levi, popularly known as Zion Lex. This is a masterpiece.
All right, y'all. With that being said, shout out to everybody. Shout out to all our moderators. Moderators, y'all be on y'all job. Tamika, I see you ain't commented too much tonight, and I know why. Because your boy got his ass handed to him on a platform that a lot of people hate. But Tamika, what I don't understand is how you could be in his, and I'm gonna keep it real with you, Tamika. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't understand how you're cheerleading on his platform when he makes statements that, you may agree with. But when everyone clearly sees that I'm showing him to be a hypocrite, you not showing up and you silent. I just want to say to you, genuinely, Sister Tamika, that's interesting to me. But I understand that you may have a stronger dispensation to whatever it is that they're making up. That's okay. But I just got to be honest with you. You're still my sister. I still respect you. All right. But as you know me, I'm a straight shooter. I'm gonna say what I feel. So having said that, guys, if you guys want to really, really learn in a very unbiased way, zionlex@gmail.com. Email me. Hebrew classes all week. Beginners, advanced, intermediate. Aramaic classes. Medunetia classes. Torah classes. Kabbalah classes. We doing classes upon classes upon classes upon classes, and we outclassing them with ease. With that being said, guys, share the live, thumb up the video, donate to the platform, visit my website, zionlex.com. Everybody have a great night.